Richard Branson is planning to fly into space tomorrow in one of his Virgin Galactic vehicles, just ahead of Jeff Bezos, who says he'll go 9 days after that. There are plenty of names you know when it comes to our space program. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, John Glenn. But there are others you probably don't, including Paul Dye, the longest-serving flight director in NASA's history. Dye recently wrote a book on his 30-year career. It's called Shuttle Houston, My Life in the Center Seat of Mission Control. He's now retired, so free to speak his mind about the past and future. We met Dye at his home in Nevada for a fascinating conversation and a fun flight. Paul Dye's backyard is unusual. There's no grass or pool, but there is a runway.
We just go. We kind of treat our airplanes like bicycles. You know, if you want to go to the end of the street, you go to the end of the street.
This is your garage.
Yeah, this is my other garage.
In the hangar off Dye's home, there are 5 experimental planes, all built by Dye himself.
5.5. You know, one isn't finished.
I'd rather fly in a full airplane.
It's a bitter to have the full airplane. Yeah. Sooner or later, it'll be flying. Yeah.
On a windy morning outside Reno, we went up in Dye's RV-8. Our flight path took us within sight of Naval Air Station Fallon, home of the real Top Gun.
We try and stay out of Top Gun's airspace.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Though I briefly took control.
It took us up a little bit too much there. Yeah, you know, it's a very sensitive airplane.
Yeah, it's definitely sensitive. Very sensitive airplane.
Woo-hoo.
Other requests were turned down.
Can I land the plane? Not today. Had to ask. Yeah.
For a number of years, Dye was editor-in-chief of Kit Planes magazine, where he still contributes. But the most impressive part of his resume is with NASA, where he worked for more than 30 years, including 20 years as a flight director, longer than anyone else in history.
I consider myself kind of a field general. I really like being in the battle. I like being in the thick of things. And I kind of recognized early on that unless I became a politician and ran for office, I wasn't going to be setting policy. I was going to be carrying policy out. And I was just going to get frustrated if I moved up higher in the organization trying to set policy and not being able to. So I recognized that what I really enjoyed doing was being in real-time operations, and I tell people, do what you enjoy.
What did you do?
Nothing, I stirred the tanks.
Audiences have enjoyed seeing roles like Dye's portrayed on the screen for years.
Houston, we have a problem.
In 1995, Ed Harris played longtime flight director and NASA legend Gene Kranz in Apollo 13.
We never lost an American in space. We're sure as hell not going to lose one on my watch.
Get him away from that booster. It's still armed.
Recently, the position of flight director has been central to the plot of the Apple TV series For All Mankind.
Figure out their status and where they're headed.
On a flight.
Copy flight.
Dye's book, Shuttle Houston, details the exhaustive training necessary to rise to the position and the monumental work of thousands of people that went into running the shuttle program.
From America's first space shuttle, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
The first U.S. shuttle flight was 40 years ago this year. The last was 10 years ago.
And liftoff, the final liftoff of Atlantis.
I personally think that we could have continued flying shuttle for a long time. And I think we should have continued flying shuttle for a long time because we had things we could do with it.
This may not be the widespread understanding, but Space Shuttle was conceived as a way to build and service a space station. Taking care of that station has been complicated by the shuttle's retirement.
The station is being serviced pretty well these days by a variety of expendable and slightly reusable spacecraft, but they're smaller. And I wish we had that capability to bring large things up and bring large things back. We don't.
This is videotape of the liftoff this morning of the Space Shuttle Challenger.
While Dye was with NASA, 2 national tragedies took place.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Challenger exploding after taking off in 1986.
Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
Columbia breaking apart upon re-entry in 2003.
The Columbia's lost. There are no survivors.
Because flight directors work on a rotation, Dye was not involved in coordinating either of those missions. But the pain remains. He is well aware mortal risks will always be inherent in space travel, as Americans debate where they should put their focus next, the moon or Mars.
My opinion, with experience, is I would like to see us really focus on the moon so that we can build the capability to permanently live on a planet. I would rather have a major problem occur 2.5 days from home than 8 months from home. So I guess I'm a little bit conservative, a little step by step in that regard, rather than just going straight to Mars, which we really could do. But I'd like to see us have a permanent presence.
Okay, flaps are coming. Pre-landing checklist is complete.
Dye firmly believes heavy investments in space should continue, both public and private.
I think all you have to do is look at what NASA has contributed in the past. And I think you recognize then how important it is for the future. First is flat out inspiration. Holy smokes, look what we can do as a people. I mean, we've gone to the moon. We've had people in orbit continuously. We are a spacefaring species for over 20 years. But then you also look at the technology that has come out that we take completely for granted today. The microelectronics industry basically grew out of the Apollo program when they needed a very small compact computer to go to the moon. There's two big technology drivers in history: wars and exploration. And I'd a lot rather spend that money and get the technology from exploration than wars.
Sounds like the right idea to me. I asked him if he'd be down for one of the space tourism flights that Branson's going to take first, and then Bezos. He said yes if someone else is paying.
Of course.
Keeps coming back to that. Yeah.
Right?
He wouldn't be the oldest. I mean, Wally Funk is headed up, who's like...
That's right.
Like, she's what, 83
82.
Now? 83.
80, well, whatever. It's
in her 80s.
She's in her 80s, Jeff.
And looks good.
Yeah. She has goose pimples all the way.
Here we go again.